welcome to this video, which is my very honest review of the Vega Trem, which I've recently acquired. I've been looking at these for a little while because, you know, a little bit of background. I've, for the most part, in my playing career over 26 years, been a Strat player. I started out on a cheap Strat copy, and I was playing this guitar from the age of 18 up to about 2018, so about 15 years. I was always really frustrated, you know. I loved my playing technique, you know, developed around a Strat and how I position my hand on the bridge, etc. and stuff like that. But I was always frustrated because, you know, a big part of my playing is the use of like vibrato with the whammy bar. You know, not necessarily like kind of like Van Halen or Dimebag Darrell squeals, but you know, I used it like a violin vibrato where the pitch goes up and down, below and above, you know, said pitch, rather than the classic guitar vibrato, electric guitar, which is just going above said pitch. So, you know, I use it this way. Etc. But on a Strat, that would just go horrendously, a regular Strat bridge would just go horrendously out of tune, very quick. However well cut your nut was, how much lubrication was in there, etc. It was going out of tune and you just kind of had to accept it. So I did get into guitars with Floyd Roses. I've been playing Charvel for a number of years now, since around that time, 2018. And I kind of settled on a Charvel Spectrum, you know, with double locking trem, you know, single coil pickups like a Strat. I tried very hard to make, you know, those guitars sound like a Strat, but you know, it's different shape, different construction. With a Floyd, you know, the reality is, you know, there's more contact here with the screws and the body than there is on a Floyd Rose, you know, which is sitting on the screws, balanced by the springs, and you can put a brass block on there, for instance, but you still just don't get that kind of like, you get a different kind of sustain with the brass block. It's more metallic and thin than with, you know, like the vibrations also from the wood and the resonance and the sustain from the wood. So, you know, it always frustrated me. And another big thing was like, you know, playing, you know, that's what, you know, if you mute the strings here, you know, something like this, like a... that kind of thing, or... hand position doesn't have to move there, but on a Floyd Rose, which I'll like demonstrate now, you know, you can do it, but my hand positions actually had to move there because you got these micro tuners here, which just get in the way. So I find these are like a bit more cumbersome, so I find it, you know, a lot harder. You know, I had to change my playing style and I want to do, you know, the muting stuff. You know, this thing's just in the way, and plus, you know, it's such a faff, you know, to change a string. You know, it takes, instead of a 5-minute job on a Strat, stretch them in, you know, it's 35-40 minutes on here. And I will say, you know, it's very stable. Once I have restrung it and stretched it in and finally got it, you know, to be balanced, everything, you know, I don't really have to tune it again after that, so that's good. But yeah, the main thing always with a Floyd Rose, which I was very interested in the Vega Trem, was how much tone was it going to lose, because it's just, yeah, it's a more metallic tone, as I said, you know, a little bit thinner. You just lose some of like the woodiness from the guitar. And I have to say on this guitar that the Vega Trem's actually improved. This had a 2-point Fender bridge. It's not a 6-point bridge, which I had changed to a Wilkinson bridge, as you probably saw at the beginning of this video, because the Fender, you know, this guitar I've played more than any other, and I had worn out the knife edges on the original Fender bridge, so I put on a Wilkinson bridge with a big brass block. You know, the tone was very much like the same then, but on this, you know, it's got you know, a little bit harder, and actually I get more sustain from this guitar, and it sounds tighter and just better and bigger in every way, you know. So yeah, it's just bigger in every way, and it's massively improved the tone. You know, I really like the design of you know, screwing this thing into the bridge, which the knife edges are, and then the bridge actually sits on there in the knife edges and is held on by the strings, which is like a really cool design. I really love the way it feels. I was a little bit worried because it's a bit smaller than the Fender bridge, and it would really change like the aesthetic of the Strat, but I think it looks great. So I'm 100% on board with this thing. Like I said, tuning stability, I would say about 90% of a locking tuner, locking trem, which is a massive improvement over your stock Fender bridge. And yeah, on this, I haven't played the 6-point, but on this 2-point, it's massively improved the tone, as I said. And yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Floyd Rose, I'd never buy another guitar with Floyd Rose. You know, my favourite guitars are Strats. I love the way they look, I love the way they feel. My playing has like kind of evolved around them, and yeah, Floyd's for me were a massive compromise, but this isn't a compromise at all. In fact, I think it's an improvement. So yeah, I'll be very interested to try the 6-point as well, because I think a 6-point bridge has even more tone than a 2-point bridge. You know, the extra screws and you know, contact with the body. The next thing would have to be to get a gold one for my number 1 Strat, my gold Strat, and see how that fares, because yeah, that 6-point bridge on there sounds really wonderful. But you know, I have it you know, flat to the body because you get a little bit more resonance, and on that my trem can only go down, so I almost treat that guitar as a hardtail, and I don't really use a trem, you know, because it's just that's all I get for vibrato, which is kind of annoying, you know. But Van Halen did pretty well on the bridge that just went down, didn't he? So maybe I need to just man up. Anyway, so yeah, 100%, you know, if you got a Strat and you're ever frustrated with your tremolo capabilities of the bridge, then you know, I would definitely give the Vega Trem a go. And for me, it's Floyd Rose, goodbye, hello Vega Trem. Anyway, I'll play you out with a solo from Little Savage by Yngwie, which has a lot of whammy bar work in there, very airy, spongy, floating trem sound, and we'll see how this fares doing that kind of job, shall we? Alright, till the next video, peace.